We're running out of time. I have a very specific question regarding to the current times, which is the pandemic and how pandemic has hit our economies. Obviously, the strong of this pandemic changes priorities in governments. So I would like to hear briefly, a couple of minutes for each one, from the mayor and the president. I'm going to start with the mayor. How pandemic has changed the priorities of your government in order to tackle climate change and balance responding the society needs during these tough times of the pandemic months?
Well, you know, here in Tirana, Albania, we had what they call a double slammer. So right before the pandemic, we had two major earthquakes, September and November in 2019.
A Type 1 civilization has the power of an entire planet. They control the weather. They mine the oceans. They control volcanoes. They control earthquakes.
And then the pandemic hit. But, you know, the Chinese word for disaster has two strokes. One stroke says danger, which surely is. But the other stroke means opportunity. So we said, you know, what an opportunity to build now two eco-friendly, brand new neighborhoods to house the people that lost their homes in the earthquake. In the meantime, we're paying their rent bonus, so they're not refugees in their own city. And as we build these beautiful neighborhoods according to the 10 or 15-minute city where everything is in a walking distance, you don't need to grab a car to grab coffee or to go to the pharmacy or to take your kids to kindergarten. Every crisis is an opportunity. Every crisis is an opportunity.
A smart city is a place where items around town are connected. Streets, buildings, personal devices, cars, power grids, all sending data back and forth, passively working together to improve the community. Imagine public buses that trigger sensors in the roads, providing a real-time ETA. Streetlights that dim or brighten depending on foot traffic. Stoplights warning of an accident ahead. At the core, a smart city needs two things: sensors to collect data, and the connectivity to send and receive it.
And the same thing with the pandemic. Now we're under massive vaccination, but quite frankly, we know how to deal with earthquakes and the pandemic now. We don't know how to deal with another pandemic, which is the pandemic of fake news. And ignorance and blatant idiocies out there. There's no vaccine for that. And I think it doesn't matter whether you're His Excellency the President or you're the mayor or you're from the private sector. We all need to be united front for a pandemic that I think is causing more harm than things that we know how to do. We know how to build new apartments and homes. We don't know how to beat ignorance. You know, this would be the equivalent. And you guys at the media, my friend, also have a role. I get approached by the media who, in our current context, would say, "Well, Mr. Mayor, we'll have you in the show for this event in Glasgow, but we will also have someone else who says this event is in Tokyo." I mean, that we cannot have a conversation like this. This is not two different opinions. This is two different facts. The COP is in Glasgow, it's not in Tokyo. It was the Olympics in Tokyo. And for people who said, well, this is just my freedom to say the most dumbest of things, and like Forrest Gump, seek followers, you know, leading them to nowhere, this is something we need to unite forces. Politicians, business, media, we cannot have the loud minorities of the periphery dictate the agenda. Umberto Eco used to say, in the old day, in the villages, there was also the idiot of the village who wanted to join the conversation, but because everyone knew he was the idiot, they wouldn't allow him to sit in the cafe by the church, in the plaza. But now the idiot has Facebook, and he writes the most outrageous things about 5G and vaccines and whatnot. And the idiot not only sits on the table, he dictates the conversation. And for that, I think this type of disaster, which is disbalancing all of the things that we knew. You know, I grew up in communism. I was the last generation to grow up in communism. During those times, we had less information, but we knew more. We knew how to take those two drops so that we could eradicate the polio. Now we live in democracy that we have taken to the extreme because we have a lot of information, but we know less of science, less of truth. And I think we need to prepare also for a big battle on that, just like we did a battle with the pandemic and other disasters.